side. We're going to talk about like the creative process, and I don't really know why we decided to do that, but I feel like he was talking to me earlier about like getting rid of things to I guess what make something new or make space for something new. And I've been doing a lot of that, equivalent exchange, getting rid of something to take something else, or just to free up my mind and give myself a little bit more ability to think and elevate my perspective on things.
Yeah. I mean, you only have so much headspace for so many things, and if you're trying to focus on one thing, and you're naturally going to split your brain power between everything you have going on.
Yeah.
So you have like 5 things important to you, you're naturally going to split between all those 5 things.
Yeah.
But if you're like, oh, well, I only really have 3 things that are important to me, and you have that much more brain power to devote to every single thing.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest issues I've had is time management and giving myself the ability to do the things I want to do with the time that I have. And I think a big part of it for me, trying to get rid of my PlayStation, trying to do all this stuff, I was trying to free up what I think was cluttering my headspace.
Yeah.
And it's just like a lot of negativity, and like you were talking about earlier with the whole like rage or like the rage thing.
Just pure gamer rage.
Yeah,
unfiltered.
It's
seeping into everything. I feel like cell phones and video games, not that there's anything bad about indulging in them, but they definitely take up an inordinate amount of headspace.
Yeah, and I've been trying to do my best to get off of them and just work with film and work on what I think are projects and whatever the hell I believe is good for me in a progressively ethical sense. So obviously you can do things that are that people don't think are ethically or morally correct, but wasting time on video games or whatever the hell. But I think that I'm kind of moving in the right direction. So
I think what it is there's so much that we have in our daily lives that's so brand new. It's only come out within the last 30 years. We don't. It's become normal in society, but we don't really have what's necessarily healthy ways of dealing with all this stuff.
Right.
So people devote so much time onto their phones, just playing games, looking at Facebook, looking at Instagram, messaging family and friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They don't understand that can just be a piece.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the focal point. And that's so hard to come to terms with, especially for people in our generation who really grew up with that stuff.
Yeah.
Video games, for sure. I grew up with that. I was maybe 9 years old when I started playing video games. My brain was so developmental at that point, and I just crammed this thing that's insanely stimulating in there and just tried to build everything around that. And so I had to get to a point where I made everything else important, and it just kind of pushed video games out.
Yeah. I think for me at at a young age, you know how your mind is very easy to manipulate, not because of it's just generally because of your lack of
you're just developing.
Yeah, and
you're trying to decide what's important to you.
Yeah, and I think there was a phase in my life where I attached myself to video games, and I attached myself so much to just these things that I don't think were necessarily good for me now. And stepping away from gaming and looking at it for what it is, I think that it's something that I was so attached to that you kind of have that your phone's not in your pocket feeling about it.
Yeah, you feel off.
Yeah, there's times where I want to grab at my controller or something like that, but I'm in my mind, I'm like, like I have like like a little bit of a twist.
You're recovering.
Yeah, and that's like that's something that I think once I get through the process of getting over that, I can begin to use that time and energy to make something else or do something better. And that's something I think is super important. So like the big point, the big part of this was we were going to do like an abstract painting.
Yeah.
And this was entirely like his idea. And I don't know why, but I fucking loved it. I think it's super dope. So we can go ahead and start and do whatever. But
I've only been doing this for like a month.
Yeah.
Maybe like a month and a half. So my wife and I started watching Jenna Marbles. As I'm sure everybody knows who Jenna Marbles is. I'm going to explain that. But she did her 32-year-old lady series, and she did like a few painting stuff. So like Bob Ross, abstract painting, and like acrylic pour. And me and my wife both loved all of them.
Right.
And the only one we felt was like accessible for where we are physically, like living and like just, I don't know. The only one that seemed realistic to us was like abstract.
Right.
So bought a bunch of palette knives. I had this stuff from like my Bob Ross phase because like I was out in the boonies and I wanted to do some painting, and then it wasn't realistic. And so I just had them. So I acquired a lot of stuff. Like all this I bought within a month.
A month or two.
Yeah.
I haven't. Full disclaimer, I haven't I stepped so far away from like drawing and painting since high school. I haven't done any of it, but I definitely enjoyed the idea of like something abstract. So
it's just nice.
I'm going to. You guided me. Guide me, please.
So I use palette knives.
Yeah.
Exclusively palette knives. I tried brushes a little while back. It didn't go so well.
Really?
No.
Can you pass me that tape?
Yeah. There should be a little spot that started.
Yeah.
I like. So we talked about video games a lot, and I actually love.
Okay, I had to do it. I had to do it at least once. I swear.
You had to do it to me. I love video game visuals specifically.
Right.
So like Bloodborne, absolutely stunning in like every single way. So a lot of my stuff tends to be like really dark and like red and stuff. So yeah, that's really where I'm gonna go from.
I think so. I was just trying to relate this into the creative process, and I like that. That's the topic because I think but to a point when you try to connect the dots with everything, there's a level where it all intertwines.
It all comes back to
I think the whole abstract painting thing was such a good thing, and I know we talked about like doing the creative process way after the whole painting thing, but I think they coincide really well because a lot of the time I think in very abstract ways, and a lot of the time when you don't allow yourself to think so far outside of the box, it's kind of hard to have originality or like have a sense of uniqueness. So I think that if you can isolate what you're good at and then kind of free flow with it, you can ultimately make something really fucking great.
It's kind of like an exercise.
Yeah.
It's like high school English class. If you ever took like creative writing or something, you'd have like an exercise in storytelling or something. So you create something within a certain period of time.
Yeah.
I took a lot of visual arts class. So I did drawing, I did every level of pottery I could because pottery is fantastic. Any kind of ceramics is so soothing.
I like ceramics. I've only ever done it in high school, but I did like it. It was very calming.
Yeah.
Very peaceful.
Yeah, you kind of put yourself in a time limit, and you push yourself to do something. So like painting, naturally has like a self-imposed time limit because of drying time, obviously. And we're doing acrylic because it's not oil paint, and oil paint actually takes just an insane amount of time to dry. And so we have ourselves like a nice little time limit of like, can I finish this before it's dry? Can I make something I'm satisfied with? 9 times out of 10, no.
I probably won't. I haven't painted it in so long that it's like, but so my question for you would be, when you're thinking about making something, what would be your source of like inspiration from a creative standpoint?
I mean, if I'm making something, so painting it's all for me. Mm-hmm. I don't make paintings to please anybody else. And kind of at the end of the day, you have to have at least one thing that's just for you. I do a lot of other creative stuff.
Yeah.
So we talked about Dungeons and Dragons a little bit.
Yeah. And
that's probably my favorite creative process, just because it's so open-ended.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move this over to you.
Yeah, thank you.
100% you're gonna be the only one using it. Yeah, so Dungeons and Dragons, I do that. I specifically try and create stuff with D&D that I know someone else is gonna like.
Right.
So I think about who I'm making it for and what they're gonna like. And then I also think about the kind of stuff that makes me happy. Mm-hmm. So I really like, I'm writing a campaign right now, like an intro letter campaign. And it actually has a lot of like H.P. Lovecraft vibes in it, some cosmic horror.
Yeah. And
obviously starting out, it's, I'm getting way into the weeds here. I don't need to talk about specifics, but like, I always think about who I'm making it for, and I go from there. So if it's like Dungeons and Dragons, I have to think about what level of expertise are these people going to have.
Yeah.
Pretty low. So make it easy to understand. And then once I have that starting point, I know where I can draw stuff from.
Right.
So like recent video games, like Bloodborne has a lot of cosmic horror in it. I drew a lot of inspiration from Breath of the Wild, and yeah, just like literature too.
Shit's drawing so fast.
Yeah, well, it's the canvas, so it's like, because it's not fine grain, it's medium grain. Mm-hmm. It actually just soaks up the paint. But yeah.
Like so for me, I want to say I've only recently got into film and like creating videos and content for people and stuff like that, because a lot of the time I've seen, like, I was into photography at first, and I think I was telling you about this. I got to a point where I was like, oh, everybody is doing photography and it's a great thing and that's dope and all, but like I don't want to be like everyone else, and I felt like that wasn't the right route for me to go. So as I was like on YouTube and like just watching movies and seeing other things, like I got really inspired by like Star Wars, like as a saga, and just like the movement of film and storytelling and shit like that. And I was like, okay, well, this is something that I'm like, I enjoy the idea of it. And I slowly like am becoming obsessed with it. And I think that over time it's becoming something that I feel so passionately about that I watch people and their creative processes, and super famous YouTubers and people who just love film, all the like blockbuster people, and I like taking their knowledge and like their tricks and everything like that, and it's kind of like I'm high on refinement, so like I really think that it's important to like take what someone made, and if you can see something that can make it better, make it better.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest thing for me.
What's like, if you're trying to just learn how to draw and trying to get better at drawing, you look at other people's drawings and how they draw.
Right.
So if you were to look at my drawing style when I was a kid, I didn't really have a drawing style because like I didn't watch a lot of stuff other really, you know, Teen Titans.
Yeah.
And a few other things here now. So my drawing style was really uninspired. I didn't have anything to draw from.
Yeah.
That was super interesting. And I didn't have enough like creative passion to truly create my own thing. So I had to find people who were doing a better job at drawing than I was and kind of pick up from them.
Yeah.
And now I watch a ton of stuff, and it's not just like animated shows.
Yeah.
It's other people who draw on YouTube and stuff like that. And so it's just like it's always going to naturally be like, you're picking up from people you love.
Right.
I mean, look at how many people love Casey Neistat and his style.
I love Casey Neistat.
Yeah,
he's just so original.
He has such an absurdly distinct style, and like, if you have a filmmaking background, you kind of look at how he does stuff differently because you understand the way he composes his shots and like how he does stuff. But people who haven't, they just consume it, and it's just this beautiful, effortless thing. And until somebody really pulls back the curtain, it looks beautiful and effortless, and you don't understand how difficult it is to really do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just.
It's an appreciation thing. I think. Like, I watched a lot of Casey Neistat. I watched like there's like YouTubers, Peter McKinnon, all these people who like know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to making anything, or just like, you know, it starts with tutorials. It starts with teaching people how to do shit and where to go, how to get there, and people like that, like, super great because, you know, if you don't know, the internet has kind of in itself become like this university of knowledge. Yeah. And if you want to like learn anything, you can pretty much just log in and fucking make it happen just off of the want of curiosity. Yeah. I think that for me, I'm just so curious about almost anything that, like, you know, that useless knowledge dump thing, like people are like, oh, you just take shit in and you don't really know what you're taking in. Like, I feel like I'm usually just scrolling or reading something just because of the want to kind of like learn just anything, and it's like pure curiosity. Like I have no goal with like trying to understand everything. I just like the process of learning how to do something. Right. It's like super simple shit. Like you know how people like think about things that you don't necessarily see all the time. Like how doorknobs work, or like, you know, like the things that you don't think about on like a regular basis, like how printing presses work, or how like things like that, and then educating yourself on all this weird shit. And I feel like taking those avenues like open your mind to different possibilities, because the more you know, the easier it is for you to manipulate things to make something or work something and refine it. And I remember taking that test in ALS when they talked about like your highest qualities as a worker and shit. And one of my highest qualities was that like refinement. Like I'm not a very large executor. I'm not big on execution, but I'm a great refiner. And it's like, it's kind of shit to hear that. Like damn, bro, I don't fucking execute. But like, it's something that kind of humbles you because you got to appreciate what you can do.
Right.
And, strengthen yourself where you're fucking weak. But, knowing is better than not. In that instance, at least. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but, I like it.
Just kind of going for it.
I think I figured out something.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta really know what you're good at. And people who never try anything are never gonna know anything. And you're talking, what you were talking about with learning all these completely different things that have nothing to do with almost anything.
Yes.
Or like these things that are not related to each other in any capacity. The people in history who have always done the most extraordinary things didn't just do like one thing for their whole life. They tried 80 different things and failed at a lot of them. And then when they finally found what they were truly good at, they applied so much of their knowledge from other stuff.
Yeah.
So like,
it's like people read books and, sometimes they're just reading books to take the information in. It's not even really about what they're reading.
right.
It's just, they're just like, fuck yeah, I want to figure out what the fuck this is. Like, what is this? I'm interested.
Yeah.
And then you learn something from that. I feel like that's a lot of words. But that's whatever.
Just gotta try new stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like especially with painting.
Right.
It's gonna eat up your wallet to try a bunch of different stuff, but you gotta do it. Otherwise, you never know.
Yeah.
That's also kind of the key to how you really satisfy yourself.
Think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Experimentation and growth through the process of like curiosity.
Yeah.
Like trying new shit. So I think one of the easiest things to do that with, like just to start somewhere, is like food.
Yeah.
Like your friends like, hey, have you eaten this before? Hey, have you watched this? Well, I mean, I'm primarily trying to stick to food on this, but it's super general. Like trying new things, like food, watching shows, like reading certain things, like. Food, I think, is the easiest because it's super simple to go in the store and buy some strange shit that you've never bought before.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, and either you're gonna like it or you're not.
Even if it's just like a different soda or like a different ramen or something. Starting somewhere, pushing yourself just a little bit here and there. You got to give yourself a starting point.
I think that I fucked up right here, but.
So
actually, no, that's kind of cool.
If you want to, like, you can scrape that off with this
guy,
and then just like try and get as much color off as you want. Because I've done that a bunch too.
Really?
Where I overwork something and then it just becomes all muddy, and then you're like, but I'm gonna do something else here. Scoop
I think I'm gonna like leave.
I'll put that there.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave this like this.
Okay, that's
for the sake of the fucking. I don't know what the fuck this is, but it's tripping my brain out.
My wife actually did one a lot like that.
Really?
Yeah. She had a huge canvas, probably like this, but just double.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just made a big triangle, and each one kind of had its own thing.
Really? Well, it's fucking dope.
I'm getting kind of like it's almost like a Rorschach mixed with like a Native American headdress almost.
You think so?
Yeah, well, like the way you're pushing it out and feathering the ends.
Yeah, I don't fucking know that. But I like it.
It's gonna be. Some brown. Hit it with some brown first. Red oxide. So I was super salty because I actually bought a different brown.
Yeah.
And it was the last one they had in store. And then it comes out like super curled. So it's just been sitting there for a long ass time.
Oh, that's gross.
And nobody has ever touched it.
Checked it out or anything. Yeah. Do you go to the fucking craft store
Yeah.
on the base. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I should stop by. I know they probably don't have anything I'd be interested in, but maybe, you know.
There's actually, I think it's a better spot out here in your town. It's like Decory SRL.
Oh.
Super cool. Used a ton of paint. Trying to pick some up.
This is dope. This is a good idea. I don't know, but I like it.
It's like
that's all that matters.
it's like Hot Ones, you know. I'm just trying to
Dude, I fuck with it. Like,
you put me in an odd situation, and like we're just talking, and I actually find I concentrate so much better if I have a little bit of something else to do. So like in class,
yeah.
I like to have my laptop out and I play just some like mindless game. Like I could be playing Minecraft or something.
Yeah.
And it'd be perfect because I don't need a lot of brain power for it.
Yeah, you can kind of autopilot that shit.
Yeah.
That's good. I do that. I was talking about this like earlier on Instagram. I zone the fuck out when I do certain things and like just doodle, and that's kind of like where my mind goes into like a safe space. And I'm like, oh fuck, you know, like I'm chilling. I'm not worried. I can fucking do this shit, and it's good for like taking notes. Like I take notes and like I don't know what it is, but when I doodle, I feel like I remember things better.
Yeah.
Write down fucking video ideas or something. I got like just a list of compiled fucking ideas that I really want to do.
So how often are you going to bed and you just get this insane idea?
A lot.
A lot?
Very, very much so. Like a lot.
I think there's some weird thing where it's like, as you're falling asleep and you're getting like this melatonin dump,
Yeah.
your brain is kind of putting your brain into this interesting space. And like like you're already getting some of the chemicals. And I'm clearly not any kind of scientist.
Yeah, right.
So this is complete hypothesizing. But I think it just kind of like pushes you into this different creative space.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, everybody has some wild ass dreams.
Yeah.
Everybody. And I actually don't dream that often. But, like,
but when you do,
but when I do,
fucking wild. It's like fucking wild. My dreams are like that. It's like I'm straight, and then like I'm chilling or whatever the fuck, and then I'm not. And I'm like, oh, I'm tripping shit right now. Sometimes my dreams can terrify me. Like I'm like, oh, I don't know what the fuck I was just dreaming about, but that shit was kind of crazy. Very like lucid. Sometimes too. Sometimes I realize I'm dreaming and I'm like, oh, I can airbend and shit, and then I wake up and I'm like, fuck, I got so close to lucid dreaming. It's like hella fucking close.
yeah. Going back to like the creative process and stuff.
Yeah.
I think the first thing you really need, I should say the first thing I need is just any kind of a goal. So it doesn't have to be anything specific. Like I give myself a timeline.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, I want to have this done. I'm starting Friday.
Right.
I'm gonna give myself until Sunday.
Yeah.
And then that's where discipline comes into play. And that's the second thing. And there's tons of stuff about discipline versus like motivation. Everybody talks about it. Who's anybody? There's this one comic. I think the guy who does it is like Shin Comics, where he has like these two different characters, and one is motivation, and motivation like this cheerleader. It's like you can do it, and then like you eventually start ignoring the cheerleader. And then motivation is like this jack buff dude who is like comes up and picks him up, puts him down in a chair, and is like, "You will do it." And then it's like, "Yeah, that's 100% what motivation is versus discipline.
Yeah.
So motivation is like the spark that lights the fire, but discipline is like the actual fuel.
The consistent fuel.
Yeah.
That keeps you fucking burning.
Motivation is the dude who's sitting next to the fire for like 4 hours putting logs on it because he wants that fire. He's like, look, that fire is gonna sustain me.
Yeah. I think that's like a good analogy. I definitely think they're different things. Motivation gets you started.
They have their uses.
Yeah, and the consistency is discipline. And you gotta know how to use them. I'm not saying I'm super disciplined. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But
you can train anything. So you can train how to discipline yourself. But the biggest thing is like you have to actually want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And your body will know if you want to do it or not.
Yeah.
How hungry you are for something is how much effort you're going to put into that. So if it's just kind of like a surface level desire, like almost like a monkey see, monkey do kind of thing, where it's like, I'll see some stuff and I'll get super inspired by it, like this. Like watching Jenna Marbles.
Yeah.
And how much fun she had doing that stuff with her boyfriend Julian. And I was like, oh, well, I want to do that with my wife and have fun with her doing that. And then that's the motivation.
Yeah.
That's like, okay, cool. That's the monkey see, monkey do kind of stuff, where it's like, okay, well, I've seen it and I want to do it. Well, putting it into effect is like the discipline.
Yeah.
And actually doing it consistently is the discipline.
I definitely think that part when it comes to the creative process, like it's great to be creative, and you start talking about shit like talent. It's definitely great to be creative, but being creative is only like 10% of the fucking work.
Yeah, that's like nothing.
Like the creativity matters not at all if there's no action behind it.
Right.
And I mean, action is as simple as like getting up and doing it, but sometimes that may not be the simple thing.
Right.
For you, that may be the hardest fucking thing in the world to do. But it's like you have the idea, you just gotta be able to get up and fucking make it happen.
It's also having the means and opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
Like I 100% believe the best people out there are probably not the ones doing it for a living.
Right.
Or the ones who are super popular doing it. It's probably the dude sitting in his basement just chilling, like strumming on his guitar a little bit. He's probably, that dude sitting somewhere is probably the most creative person ever.
He's probably fucking chilling.
Yeah, he's probably shredding it like nobody's business. And nobody's ever going to know because he doesn't have the ability to get himself out there like everybody else does.
Right.
And I just really started thinking about this because of like all the stuff around Billie Eilish and people like, oh, she's an industry plant and this and that. It's like, well, she's also super talented.
Yeah.
And she's also in like the perfect position with her family and her brother, who are all also like pretty talented.
Yeah.
To put out good shit. And like, I think it doesn't matter where you come from. I don't think someone has to be a broke ass college student struggling in order to make something good. I don't think you have to come from this underdog background.
Yeah.
It gives you a different kind of a drive for sure, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's the only way to do stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, like where I was going with it, I kind of got off the rails.
No, I think I get where you're coming from. Like,
like she just had a better means than pretty much anybody else because she was so close to the industry already.
Yeah, she was a vibe. She's a vibe.
Yeah.
And sometimes people
lit as fuck, dude.
People don't like her. I think she's different from a lot of like the younger artists that start out. She's got this very like edgy. She's got this like very edgy persona, and she's just making her music, and she's trying to figure out herself. And I don't know. I don't know much about her, but I did fuck with her music a little bit. Like I was like super into it, and it's like a little bit. Let's see. She made a few songs. I think it was like, I can't even remember the name of it. She's got some slappers for sure.
I mean, she just put out an album on like the 22nd or something. No, that was Secure. It was last month.
Yeah.
I think it was like the 29th. But yeah, she just put out an album. And it's phenomenal. I mean, I've got most of the songs on playlists. And I think there's undeniable talent. And I think regardless of where a person comes from or like what kind of situation they started out in, it's about like appreciating the art. You know?
Yeah.
I think you should just discredit somebody because of where they came from.
Yeah.
Like whether it's high standing or low standing, art is art, dude.
It's all part of the process. Especially, I mean, you gotta be able to appreciate it for what it's worth. For sure.
I feel like this is kind of going in the odd direction.
You think so?
For me, anyways. I wanna. Not odd, actually, like a super normal direction. I want to make it a little bit weirder.
Yeah, I'm like kind of lost. Let me see. So one thing I think that's important is your ability to identify whether or not you're like you're headed in the right direction with what you're making, or if you know you're allowing yourself to think that what you're doing is flawed or like might be stolen material or anything like that. So I feel like a lot of people make things and it gets like discredited off rip just because like someone, you know, someone's like, oh, I've seen, you know, that's kind of like that kind of Casey Neistat of you, or whatever. Like, I think that knowing where you fall in between there is good for kind of gauging your uniqueness and what you offer to like whatever kind of community you're trying to reach, or if it's just for you. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah, I think context is probably the single most important thing.
Yeah.
So you got to know what you're trying to make for who. So if it's for you, who gives a crap?
Yeah, at that point it's like, fuck it.
But if you make something and you love it and you want to share it with people, you shouldn't be afraid that it's too similar to something else out there.
Yeah.
You should just share it. Share the things you love with the people that you love, and whatever comes from that is whatever comes from that. I think there's definitely a lot of anxiety in the world right now.
Yeah.
And people are super worried about
stepping on toes
and like
offending people and
we're just being judged.
Yeah.
And you can see it in everything. People are so hesitant to say or do what they want that they might just not do it, which is I
think worse.
Yeah, it's a travesty.
Yeah.
You might have somebody who is the best at what they do and they just never do it because they're too afraid.
Yeah.
And so why would you let fear hold you back from something that you could be the best at? You're not going to know until you do it.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people, even myself sometimes, like we over calculate the risk and think that just because this costs something or this is like there's some sort of risk at all, that it's not worth taking the chance. And I think that if you honestly just can kind of step outside of yourself and really assess what you're looking at and what you're trying to do from multiple perspectives. So, you know, if you gotta ask people. If you gotta fucking do anything that requires you to get some sort of external input on what you're going through, I think that's necessary. I don't think you gotta always leave it up to yourself to make those kind of decisions, especially when you're not sure about making a move. So that also means, you know, not being scared to ask for advice or get help and look at resources and shit, because like I said, the internet is powerful, fucking knowledge database. All you gotta do is ask the right questions and you'll get all the right answers.
There's a very strong fear of failure. So people just don't want to be bad at something. And it paralyzes you.
Yeah.
It's just a whole different kind of anxiety, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, gee, what if I'm bad at singing?
Yeah.
What if I'm... Yeah, I think that's really just it.
Yeah.
I was trying to make that more...
It's really
I think
not.
it's just it.
I feel like it's a very basic thing. Like,
what if I'm just bad at this?
What if...
Well, who gives?
Who gives a fuck?
Crap about that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody cares. And people who do care, they've either given up on themselves or someone else took their dream and opportunity because they were too late to the game to make it happen for themselves.
The person who cares the most about what you do is you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Are you going to let yourself hold yourself back?
I'm gonna call this the event horizon. I like this. I like this a lot. I think I'm done with this. Kind of. Maybe I am. I think I might be.
I don't think I'm done. Nah. I'm gonna try and beautify the sky.
Fucking sick, bro.
It's lit.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Thanks, man. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. This is what it's about. Talking about the creative process.
Yeah.
You gotta do some stuff that you know you're bad at, or you know you're uncomfortable with.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Because like that discomfort is what pushes you forward 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. A lot of the times I've just been putting myself in positions that I don't necessarily agree with. But I think that because I don't agree with them, I try them just to see what the end result will be. A lot of the time, it's a real solid fucking fear. Like, it's just like I'm not sure of what the outcome is, but I will never know until I do it or try it or figure it the fuck out.
Right.
So I don't know how that shit leaked through, but
Leak through.
right here. I probably didn't seal the tape down.
Yeah.
But it's all good. I like it though. Yeah.
Well, stuff's so many.
Let's see. Stop. A little watermark.
need a different one.
It's fucking lit. Let me see. No, I don't think I want to add anything else. Damn, yeah. Alright, I'm trying to think. How long did you say that takes to dry?
It's pretty fast. It's like I'd say a couple hours at most,
Couple hours.
depending on how thick the paint is. So I've had some like down here. I
Yeah.
just have like a bunch of layers of like real thick paint.
Dude, this is dope. This is a really good idea. Fuck.
Just dark green. So one of my favorite effects with paint is once you get paint that's at the right thickness, and you kind of like skate it across canvas, just like it's just giving it a little kiss as it goes by. It breaks, and so it gives like these little air pockets in it as it goes.
Right.
That's my absolute favorite.
Damn cool. Rizzo took a tremendous musical leap. I got to work with Timbaland. That alone still makes no sense to me. Like, I just did 4 songs with Timbaland? Like, what? Step of High Water. All episodes now streaming. Only on YouTube.
See, maybe if I knew how to add a different sort of. Let's see.
Sort of what? Like texture or layer? I
Uh,
mean, you could let it. I mean, if you're trying to paint over it, you could probably do that now. I would say you just need a lighter hand.
Yeah. It's all good. I don't think it's incomplete. I just think, I don't know, hopping back into this and my fucking brain is like all over the place now. That's fucking awesome.
Thanks, dude. Just trying to pick up. Just a touch.
How do you feel about like sharing ideas and collaboration?
I think that's what pushes creativity to like the next level.
You think so?
Yeah. I think that's why I love Dungeons and Dragons so much.
Yeah.
It's just because you have so many different ideas. It's like just a melting pot of creativity.
Yeah.
So you as the dungeon master are creating what you want to be a mostly blank canvas
Right.
with guideposts. And then you let the players find their way in between. And if they want to break down those guideposts,
Yeah.
that's fine. You gotta let them do that. That's what makes the most interesting sword. The most interesting stuff comes from a mixing of different stuff.
Right. I think that, so I mean, obviously, like me wanting to be in film, me liking videography and the shit that I do, that's kind of like, I mean, that the act of recording is to capture something, and usually that takes other people, or even most of the time myself, but collaborating with people and trying to step into that zone of, okay, I want to share ideas with you, and I want to like I want to figure out if we can make something dope here. I think that has become something that I think is like, I wasn't really for at the beginning of this whole journey, but as I'm stepping out of my shell a little bit more, I think that it's super important. But the issue I'm having here in this current situation is like, it's like the lack of consistency with other people. I have, you know, these ideas and I know what I want to do. I know where I want to take things, but it sometimes falls through, and it's like we can share all this shit. We can talk about all these things, and sometimes it just doesn't go anywhere. Like it doesn't happen, and it's like, you know, I can't do a collaborative project by myself.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm supposed to do that, but it's like, what the fuck else can I do? You know what I mean? Like, I just try my best and see where the fuck it goes from there. And being here, a lot of people do music, a lot of people are into like photography, but it's like, most of the photographers I know here, they're resourceful in like, if you want to get photos taken or anything like that, but it's like, my mind isn't where their mind is at, and I don't think we like relate in like a weird trippy sense. Like, everybody wants to be a model, everybody wants to like get their photo taken and look sexy on camera and shit, but that's not what I want to do. Everybody wants like music videos and wants their content to look great for their music or for their business or whatever, but it's like, you gotta be, I know obviously, you know, I gotta start somewhere, but I have to be in that headspace where we gotta keep doing it. We gotta keep making projects. We gotta keep like creating something, and it's gotta be something that's like fresh and different. It's gotta be something unique, or it's like I just lose interest in it. And I think that's one of the big reasons I stepped away. I stepped away from like photography, was because I just felt like
Stagnated,
and it was like super oversaturated. Like, I was just I mean, if you're a good videographer and you understand, you know, all the aspects of the camera, how to use it, you can be a good photographer. And if it's like, if I can do one and there's a step up, I think I can do better. So my whole mind has been in this place where it's like, I've been looking for people to just do things with, and it's very scarce. And sometimes that's really discouraging. So like, if people want to do things by themselves, I wouldn't be discouraged. I would still try to figure it out, but do what you can by yourself until people eventually come around.
Yeah.
Those kind of look like mountains. Is that purple?
Probably need to do some like Bob Ross style mountains.
And we're gonna just ride the fucking wave, bro. Great.
I'm probably super quiet on this thing because I keep moving back.
No.
I keep getting quieter.
Yeah, you know, it's part of the. And yeah, it was real nice to meet you guys.
Let there be chaos.
Fuck yeah, that's great.
Just let it happen a little bit.
You good?
Yeah. I'm just, when I was hitting it with the frosting knife,
Yeah.
I was just like, there was a second where my whole brain was screaming in protest because I worked so hard on these clouds and I was just destroying it.
You're like,
I just kept hitting, yeah, I was like, done. And then I was like, but is it worse though? I don't think it is.
You think so? I don't think so. No, actually, I think that purple, like, really does look like mountains. Like, there's a sea level, there's like mountains, and then it's like different levels of clouds.
Yeah.
I fuck with it.
I want to break this little line.
I'm trying to see.
Like, that's gonna be terrible for the mic.
Welcome to the ASMR video. It's your boy Christian. That's how people feel when things like that happen.
I just put someone to sleep by tapping this on the floor. Go to sleep. And now everybody's skin is crawling.
Like, what the hell? What is this?
Stop talking so quietly.
What is this, bro?
I feel like this is either great or super boring watching this because we just go silent for so long.
Like, I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
I think it's everything that it needed to be. Yeah, I mean,
One of my favorite things to do is just, I mean, look, the approach is diametrically opposite, and I love it.
Yo, I think that's like
So much
a good ass note to end this podcast on.
hell yeah.
Like, this was fucking awesome. And now, I've done something on a canvas that I haven't done in literal years. So, fuck yeah. This is awesome.
Hell yeah, dude.
Bro.
Can I get a hell yeah? That was so loud.